Hello everybody, welcome back downstairs into the dungeon. In the background you can hear my little hydroponic garden going, and beside me here you can see the classic drawing board. As I've kind of been alluding to for a while now, it's really become time for me to get back into the aquaponic gardening thing. That is what this channel was initially founded on, and as I have found, that does seem to be the only way I can consistently grow anything. So, in this particular video, because I do have the conversion project of the Euro Grower coming up, we're going to discuss basically, in my opinion, after all of my efforts, experiments, trials, and yada yada blah blahs, what I think are the bare minimum requirements to put together a really good aquaponic garden. Now, odds are, in my conversion project, I'm not going to be able to do that because I'm still kind of financially limited, but it's good to have goals. So, here we go. Now I apologize because I'm not entirely thrilled with the camera angle I've got going on here, and I'm not exactly an experienced drawing board type teacher, but here we go anyway, okay? So if you've watched my earlier aquaponic videos, you know the number one thing, that's not going to work out very well. Right, yeah, so I apologize because, like I said, I'm not really very experienced with these whiteboard type videos, but those of you who watched some of my earlier videos, in particular the no power aquaponics, know that really, oh, I got a dead pen. We need our pond area here to keep the fish. Is that even showing up in the camera? Not really. Let me try a different pen. Alright, we'll try this with the blue, see if that wants to work for me today. Suppose the pond should be blue anyway. So you need your pond area here, because that's where your fish are going to be. Very basic. And that is the most important part, ultimately, of your whole aquaponic system, because of what it contains. And it's not because of the fish, it's because of the water. But we'll get to that in a minute. The next thing your aquaponic garden needs is some sort of filtration, right? In the case of my no power aquaponics, we had a little Folgers thing with the hose coming out, and I would fill it up, and it would go through the rocks that were all in there, get some basic filtration, pour back in, provide some aeration for it, and that's all well and good, except it really isn't. This was very, very hard on the fish, and it's not something that I am, well, ever planning on repeating. What you really should do, I mean, this is the basics of it, right? Like this, you can get away with this. But this time around when I'm building my aquaponic garden, I'm not looking at what I can get away with so much as what I know is going to work and what it's going to take to make it work well. So, we're going to erase this, and I'm going to show you what it really does take. This is what it bare minimum requires, but it actually takes a lot more than this to get a good quality aquaponic garden. Stick with me. So, you still need your pond. I mean, we're still going to need that too, but it doesn't quite apply the same. You still need your pond, because aquaponics, aquaculture, and hydroponics, you need somewhere to do the aquaculture. Here we go. You're going to want to make sure you have a decent sized pump. And we're going to take a second here to talk about the pump too, because you do not want to use a cheap pump, you do not want to use a sump pump, you do not want to use any kind of pump other than a fountain or aquarium style pump. Look in the koi department of nurseries, but something that is designed to run 24 hours. The vast majority of aquaponic systems that I've seen fail on YouTube have failed because they used a crappy pump. So, keep that in mind, and yeah, that's at least two things we need, right? Moving on from there, the pump has to go into some sort of a settlement tank. Now you can use almost anything you want for that. I used a garbage can, it worked fine. I used a Rubbermaid tote, it worked just fine. What's important here is that it falls in and it's got somewhere for the solids to drop out into the actual tank area before the water, usually through gravity, moves on to some other point. So this settlement tank does not count as filtration. This is simply a place for the solids to drop out. You still need to go from your settlement tank to a separate biofilter, preferably. As I've shown with aquaponic gardens, you could use your media bed as your biofilter, but ultimately it is better if your biofilter is a separate thing. Now there are, again, 1,000,001 ways to do this. Pump your water in. It needs to go through something with a lot of surface area, because the surface area is where your beneficial bacteria are going to develop, and again, we can get into that later. And then it's got to come out from there one more time, because if this is an aquaponic garden, we still need plants. So you've got it coming out here into your garden bed. I think all of my dry erase markers are dead. But it needs to come into here still. So once the water leaves the settlement tank, the biofilter, and finally makes it into our garden bed area, switch to green, see if that wants to work any better for the camera. You know, we've got all our various plants growing in there, and then of course it still needs to go back into the pond. There are lots and lots of ways that you can achieve filling up your little garden bed here. I personally have gone with flood and drain systems in the past and found them very successful. Others have gone with timers, and that works just as well. Running at a constant level, well, let's just draw another little doodle here. Now, if you run your water at a constant level, it seems like a really good idea because of Baki river filters and all kinds of things like that going on in the koi pond industry. But the reality is, you get these pockets here at the bottom and areas like this where the water never really changes, and you still end up with a lot of nasty stuff that ends up building in the bottom there. So I really do recommend using your standard bell siphon if you want to go for a flood and drain, or as I said earlier, using a timer, because what that's going to do is either with the timer, and you've got your small hole at the bottom here, so it fills up for 15 minutes or whatever, and then drains, and then fills up for 15 minutes, or however long your cycle needs to take to make your timer work, really. Or your bell siphon here, it's going to pull out all your water from the entire area down to your drain and guarantee that it makes it back into your fish tank, and then scanning back down here, and then back to our original picture here, it's into the pond, through the pump, through your settlement tank, through your filter, and then back into your aquaponic bed. This is where you're going to avoid the vast majority of the problems that I encountered with my, we'll call them experiments, in aquaponics previously. I tried skipping the settlement tank. This is not a good idea. It can be done, but it's not a good idea. I tried skipping the separate biofilter and just using my media bed for that instead. Like I said, it can be done. It's not a good idea, but it can be done. I tried running at a constant water level like we just showed you in the previous one, just above this doodle, and jiggles my camera too much to check it right now, but anyway. And like I said, it creates dead zones and things that don't flow properly in the bottom of the bed. So I do recommend a flood and drain cycle. Ultimately, it still kind of seems really simple and kind of seems really complicated, and it is both. But it isn't at the same time. You got to bear with me here. If there is anything that I absolutely learned about my previous adventures in aquaponics, is that it's really easy to overthink it, and it's really easy to think it's too easy. But when you get right down to it, as long as you handle a few really simple steps, some sort of a settlement tank, like I say, you can make them so easy. There's no need to go out and spend hundreds or thousands or whatever dollars on something fancy, because like I made them out of tote. I made it out of a garbage can, 25 bucks tops. You can make a settlement filter or a settlement tank that will do a more than adequate job. Again, with a tote, you can make yourself a biofilter. You don't need to use the clay balls or anything for that. Anything with surface area will do. I've seen lots of successful gardens where they are using those onion bags, those little mesh bags that kind of look like fish netting, and those become a fine particle settlement filter, and they become a biofiltration because it is somewhere for the bacteria to accumulate. I got a dot on my forehead from something. Anyway, because it is somewhere for the bacteria to accumulate, blah blah blah. What was I saying? Yeah. And then, as I've previously done, you can do almost anything you want for your garden bed. I have seen plenty of systems where they are just like floating rafts on the surface of the water and growing their lettuce and stuff that way. I haven't had the greatest of success with that, and that is not what I'm referring to with this upper drawing here. What I'm talking about here is when there's like bio balls or clay pellets or something in the bed and you're trying to run a constant surface level. That does not work. If you want to run rafts, go right ahead, run rafts. If you want to do something with additional, like the clay pellets that I'll end up using eventually anyway, and well, the ones that are in this hydroponic garden, then go right ahead. It's pretty much fair game on any idea that you want in aquaponic gardening. It doesn't take a lot of time on YouTube to realize that anything that will hold water can be used for this, as long as it's food safe. And you know, frankly, there are plenty of gardens out there using non-food safe materials, and these creators haven't dropped dead yet, so I don't know. People have accused me of using non-food safe containers. I'm still here to tell my tale. So, yeah. I hope this isn't as circular and rambling as it kind of feels like it has been. Not good with the whole drawing board video thing. But yeah, for those of you who have stuck around at this point, let's talk about what I need to do to make the Euro Grower, which is a hydroponic garden, into an aquaponic garden. Because there, like I said the other day, there are some changes that are definitely needed. As delightful as this setup is, and quasi-complete, you'll notice from my doodles in the beginning of this that there are a few things missing. For example, there is no current settlement tank system on this, so I'll have to figure out a way to pull those solids out of the bottom tank and get them into something where they can settle and be easily removed from the system. There is no biofiltration other than the clay pellets here, but in all fairness, this came as a hydroponic garden, which is expecting you to use the chemicals and stuff, mix it with the water. It don't need the biofiltration, so why add it? I will be adding it because I intend to put fish in this giant reservoir at the bottom of it. Now that is another one of the issues that I'm going to have to deal with. That is not a lot of room to feed my fish, to see my fish, to clean up after my fish. This whole top piece does come off. I don't know how well you're seeing that in the camera. So what I think I'm going to have to do is make some sort of an elevated platform that I can rest the top of this on top of, you know, I don't know, maybe 1.5 feet, 2 foot gap, so I can get in there and I can actually like run a net around and chase solids that way until I get my solids collection and settlement tank all worked out, right? From the solids tank, it's going to have to go into some sort of a biofiltration. I could use these and probably be just fine, because that's basically what I did in my early aquaponics when I started getting, you know, power and stuff into things. And I had some amazing results, but I want to do it properly this time. I'm done. I think I'm done with the initial painful part of the learning curve, and at this point it's about refining my knowledge and making a system I can be proud of. That said, this is probably not going to be that system, but it will get me kickstarting myself back into the world of aquaponics. While I'm working on getting that garden figured out, I have to get some fish, I have to get some cycled water, I have to clean a whole bunch of stuff, I'm going to have to figure out a biofiltration, going to have to figure out a settlement tank, so it's probably still going to be another month or two before you all get to see actual aquaponic development here in the dungeon. But that's still not bad, considering I'm still going to have snow outside for the next 4 or 5 months. If I can start aquaponics in my basement in a month, cool. That totally works for me. Odds are very good that I will be going with feeder fish once again. Feel free to throw the hate down in the comments down there. I know how much people love them comments, but they are affordable fish. You know, they're $1 each, so if I drive an hour to town, that's going to be $20 in gas, spend 20 bucks on fish, 10 bucks on Starbucks, another 20 bucks on gas. It has been a long day, and I'm going to have a whopping 20 feeder fish when I get home. I am aware of just how fast those suckers love to die off, so By the time I make my first video clip, I may only have 5. Or I may have 20. I've never done business with this pet store before. I don't know how they keep their feeders and stuff. When I do get to that point, I will of course be bringing you along. But yeah, not there yet. You'll know. You'll know when the time comes. You'll know. Yeah, with that said, I guess that about covers it for what I was going to say today. I can't really speak all that clearly. A little stuttery. Need to spend some more time with that coffee. Although that said, I think I got a black tea on the go right now. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm feeling a little babbly. It's a little weird making a Wednesday video again. I kind of like it though. You know, there was a while there when I was posting videos every 2-3 days. So, who knows? I might just get back into that habit. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to wrap it up there, and yeah, hopefully I'll see most of you in the chat stream watching RevToast and the boys tonight on his meetups. He does them on Mondays and Wednesdays. I do recommend people stop by and check that out. There's never really any kind of agenda from what I can tell other than having a chat and a good conversation, and pretty open-minded to whatever questions you want to throw in the chat feed there. So stop on by, give Rev a little love and support, and while you're at it, you know what? I was doing a little surfing the other day, and I will admit I don't get to spend anywhere near as much time watching you guys' channels as I used to, but I would like you all to go check out 50 Shades of Green. There is a man with a wonderful heart, and yeah, just go check him out, and if you like him as much as I do, I'll know you'll sub too, so it's all good. What else? Oh yes, taking another tip from Rev. Go check out whoever's made some comments down below. Odds are very good that they've got a gardening channel, or they're gardening people. And odds are good that if they have a gardening channel, they're doing better than I am, so they're a much better source of advice. This is sort of edutainment. If you learn from my failures and are entertained, my work is done here.